then I got an idea why you've come here, my friend.
Black Myth Wukong is the new action game darling from developer Game Science. Although it's based on the classic Chinese tale Journey to the West, the player doesn't actually take on the role of the titular son Wukong, but rather a nameless monkey generations after the original tale that has been chosen by the gods to bring divine son Wukong back to the mortal world. The game has had an unprecedented level of success financially in its first weeks of release, with 10 million units sold. So, should anyone else buy it? Well, the answer might be a surprise. Before we go any further, full curtain pull, this reviewer has not finished this game and rolled credits. I have played over 25 hours and completed roughly 2/3 of this game. To some that might invalidate the review right off the bat, but please save any judgment until the end of the video. I am an avid FromSoft fan and this might be my favorite type of video game, so if you are as well, try to keep an open mind about what I'm saying. Let's get the positives out of the way. The game is absolutely gorgeous and the camera work showcases this world of anthropomorphized animals with incredible intimacy. Even though every living creature encountered in Wukong is some sort of evil abomination, the story treats them with startling humanity and empathy. Some creatures, like the porcine Zhubaje, a returning character from Journey to the West, are a warm, welcome addition to the cast.
Buddha because you think no Buddha. No thought, no sight.
I, the sacred gourmand, saw enough Buddhas before you were born.
Now, online discourse for this game is really chaotic right now. People can't seem to agree on whether this is a Souls-like or not. Allow me to clarify. This is definitely not a Souls-like game in its basic structure. The player does not collect currency through combat that can be lost through dying. Any experience gained is gained for good, and leveling up nets the player a skill point to be used at their discretion. Skill points can also be reallocated as many times as necessary, and the result is an amazingly fluid progression system. Healing is handled in a very FromSoft way as well, with a drinking gourd for wine that can be refilled at save points and augmented through different equipped items called soaks. These soaks add in buffs to the player upon the consumption of the wine. Different gourds alter how many times the player can heal and how the healing action occurs, whether it be instant or over time. Overall, I would say the most valuable items I found through exploration were all related to the gourd, and every time I found a new gourd or soak, it felt like a very big change to gameplay. The player can also craft quite a bit at save points, whether it be new armor and weapons or even just consumable items to assist with combat. It doesn't make much sense at all to be able to create all these items on my own in the middle of hostile lands, but I won't lick a gift monkey in the mouth. Unfortunately, the pros to this game end there. The level design, while very pretty, is a convoluted mess. It attempts to ape the twisting and winding roads of Dark Souls games that cleverly loop back into themselves, but never reaches that level of craftsmanship because the game's 6 separate biomes are just that, entirely separate and incredibly linear. At certain points, these levels widen to encourage exploration, but aggravating invisible walls will stymie the player at every turn. Those invisible walls also rear their ugly head during combat, but they're not the only failing that the action musters. As it is impossible to review this game without comparing it to FromSoftware games like Dark Souls, Sekiro, or Elden Ring, I should mention that what makes those games so incredible is that while they are tough, they are always fair. There are rules that are followed by both the player and computer-controlled enemies. The developers of Black Myth Wukong seem to have studied these games, but perhaps not well enough, as the rules that apply to the player don't seem to be the rules that apply to the enemies. Where to begin? How about hitboxes? The player's hitbox is their entire body. This means that an enemy attack can touch any part of the protagonist monkey and cause damage. Depending on the enemy, an attack that barely touches can still be deadly. The opposition, on the other hand, can have single hitboxes that are small specific locations on their bodies. If those hitboxes are missed, any attacks on an enemy will deal absolutely 0 damage, and also leave the player open to an attack. Any Souls player that prefers to play without using lock-on mechanics will be completely out of luck for the entire runtime of this game. The player is given magic spells throughout the game that are intended to turn the tide of battle. but it's completely arbitrary when they will work and when they won't. If used at the wrong time, not only does the magic not get triggered, the lengthy cooldown for the spell restarts, and the incredibly finite mana resource gets used up as well. It's 3 punishments at once for using the tools that the game actively wants you to use. Someone please make it make sense. I also have quite a large gripe with the encounter design of some of these boss fights. Obviously, I've already touched on invisible walls and terrible hitboxes, but some of these fights are multi-stage fights without needing to be. I'll use the game's halfway point as the perfect example. Some minor spoilers ahead, but bear with me. At the end of the 3rd chapter, the player encounters a corrupted priest named Yellowbrow. Once the player eliminates the first health bar, Yellowbrow sucks the player into a magic bag where the player fights an entirely different boss, the Macaque Chief, an annoying primate who the player has encountered 2 times prior. Upon beating the angry ape, the player takes on its form and escapes the bag to go on a little fun rampage through Yellowbrow's temple. Had the encounter ended there, this would be a tough but entertaining and memorable fight for the right reasons. Unfortunately, after tearing through Yellowbrow's minions, the player is forced to fight the priest one more time. Only this time, he's far more deadly and subverts your magic spells with complete intentionality. If you try to immobilize him, he will break out of the spell immediately and also coat his body in impenetrable gold. If you try to do your best Naruto impression and use your Shadow Clone ability on him, Yellowbrow will cast his own spell and then turn them on you, effectively turning this into a 1v5 fight. Alone, these mechanics are actually quite a novelty, but at the end of a 3-stage boss fight, they feel like a bit of a slight to the player. In any case, believe it or not, they are not the reason I hate this boss encounter. What I hate is that if you die to Yellowbrow at this point, you simply revive right before the 3rd stage of the fight. Why am I complaining, you ask? This makes it easier, right? Right. But ask yourself if you've ever seen From Software handle a multi-stage boss in this way. I'll answer that for you. They haven't. In a FromSoft game, a multi-stage boss fight is a carefully crafted encounter meant to test your skills. In Wukong, the fact that a boss has more than 1 health bar means nothing. All it does is show the developers' lack of confidence in their own content. I beat Yellowbrow and the Macaque Chief on the first try, but Super Saiyan Yellowbrow took me a few hours and some research from other helpful YouTubers. I'll be honest, I'm sad to give up on this game because I really wanted to love it. There are many beautiful cinematic moments and even more moments of satisfying surprise when turning a random corner and coming across one of the game's 80+ completely unique bosses. I feel like I'm failing myself and this review, but a person can only take so much disheartening punishment before they decide to call it quits. This is especially aggravating as I see many other reviewers on this platform calling this game easy. I'm not sure if they're just looking to troll their viewers, but to say this game is easy is an ego manipulation. Do not fall for it. Also, you don't owe any piece of media any more time than what you are willing to give it. To be clear, I could keep playing this game, but I have chosen to end my time with it. My enjoyment of this game ran out about 10 hours ago, and I kept playing because I wanted to review this game from a valid angle. I believe that while I haven't seen all this game has to offer, I do have a pretty solid picture of its major flaws. Now, obviously I'm not the greatest gamer in the world. I see that people are beating this game and doing what I could not. It's not inherently an impossibility. If you are so inclined, do please try this game. It does have a lot going for it. I only seek to explain why I hit my limit with this title for anyone else who feels like they might be in the same boat, or for those on the fence about picking it up. I see a lot of people putting this in the Game of the Year contention, and I simply can't personally endorse blackmythwukong for that conversation. I think people are far too swayed by the gorgeous presentation to see what an imperfect crock this game really is.
Adaption, I'm running out of breath. I'm bringing it back in. Need my money up front. Don't deal with it back in. Your pockets on a diet, nigga. I'm calling you Atkins.
Nah, that ain't it, y'all.
Okay, you can crucify me now, but before you do, please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.